The U.S. dollar is strong against all currencies.
Commence launch procedure.
What's your perspective?
Can you really trust the world around you? Who's to say that your reality is truly as how you perceive it? I'm your host, Anna, coming to you from Ryerson University's recording studio. And welcome to Perception, your weekly radio show where it will explore the conspiracy theories and speculations behind everything that will and ever has happened in this world. Now, some of these theories can be a little questionable, from the lizard people theory to government-planned attacks and tragedies. You may be a skeptic, and I get it, but try to keep an open mind, and remember to question everything. We decide to take it to the public and see what the people think about conspiracy theories as a whole in our field interview. Let's hear what they have to say. So I've decided to come out to Ryerson University's Rogers Communication Center campus to ask a couple of students about their opinions on conspiracy theories. What's your name?
My name is Wendy.
Eunice?
Scott Zhang.
All right, what program are you in?
I'm in the Languages and Intercultural Relations program.
I'm in business management.
Media production first year.
So I have a couple of questions for you. What's your opinion about conspiracy theories in general?
In my opinion, I don't really think they exist.
I think in a sense they're kind of pointless because conspiracy theories are like myths that kind of flood what you think reality is, and believing in them would just kind of cloud your judgment of what is real and not, and that's just kind of pointless because you will never actually know.
I think when it comes to conspiracy theories, it's easy to get lost in all the flack and all the shit that actually doesn't make any sense, but I guess if you sift through some of the conspiracy theories, there are some that actually have some credibility, that have some factual weight to them.
So what do you know about the Illuminati?
I know that it's a theory that the Illuminati is just like a higher up that controls everything, like the government, literally everything that you can think of. It's a myth.
I know there are a lot of people who believe that the Illuminati sort of take advantage of celebrities to get their messages out there.
And in your opinion, do you think that they could be real, or is it just completely fake?
I think it's real in certain countries,
Oh, yeah? Okay.
and it's not real in other countries.
I think that the idea of the Illuminati could be real.
Yeah, I don't think they're real.
So last question, how does it make you feel knowing that there is a possibility that the government and top people of power could potentially be controlling everything that happens in the world?
If I find out that the president was a part of the Illuminati and this all higher up, that wouldn't really affect my daily life because I'm already living like that.
I feel like we're under control, not safe.
Yeah.
I don't think that we should be particularly scared.
All right, these are all fair points. Thank you so much for your time. Now I've got my guests, Zach and Alex, here with me to discuss the moon landing conspiracy theory. There are speculations that the moon landing was entirely a hoax and the pictures taken were all studio shot. There are quite a few interesting points and arguments that can be made on both sides. So what do you guys have to say?
I think this is ridiculous.
It's
I
fake.
cannot believe we're about
It's
to have
fake.
this conversation.
It's 100% fake.
No, it's 100% real. It is a thing that happened.
It's not. I've got a huge list of facts. The no stars,
Facts.
the sea rock, the
Facts,
shadows.
air quotes facts, right? These aren't real facts. These are just things you find on the internet.
They are evidence. And I can tell you.
Sure they are. Let me hear your evidence.
I'll fire some off to you. So one of the biggest ones I saw was the waving flag in one of the photographs.
Waving flag, like the song by Kanon, Waving Flag? That waving
Yeah,
flag?
no. Okay, so what happened was that the flag was waving in one of the pictures, and this isn't possible because there's no air in the moon's atmosphere, and therefore there would be no wind to make the flag move. So I'm wondering how you can explain that.
So I'm assuming you think this was recorded in some studio, right?
Yep.
Okay, and you think that they put a fan in to make this flag move? Like, they know there's no wind on the moon, yet they're going to put wind in this magical studio, right?
Well, yeah, maybe they had a movie director making this, and he didn't really know that much about the moon. That's what I'm thinking.
So they would create the most elaborate hoax of all time, and yet they aren't going to think about the facts. They're just going to, let's just throw some wind in there because it's going to look cool.
I don't know. I think there's just too much evidence that it's fake. What about the sea rock? The rock that has the perfectly engraved letter C.
So?
I think that's a prop or something. Then maybe that one of the
some
prop
guy
guys.
just messed up on that day.
I was walking downtown yesterday, and I saw a rock with a face on it. That doesn't mean anything.
Well, this is on the moon.
Okay.
Not
Do you know what
Toronto.
rocks on the moon look like?
They don't have a letter C.
Speaking
on
of
it.
rocks, they brought back a lot of rocks from that moon landing?
So
And they
just 'cause
tested those rocks and they saw, oh, wow, these are rocks from the moon.
I mean, they're all working together. They could all be lying to us.
You know how many people it would take to make this conspiracy happen?
It is the government.
Yeah, they are pretty powerful.
But no one would come clean about this?
It's the government.
So they can just do whatever they want.
Yeah. Like what about the no stars in the photos? Like there was 0 stars, and on the moon there's no clouds, and you're in space, so you're gonna be able to see the stars a lot more brighter, but you cannot
You're
see
Zachary.
any of them.
Zachary, can I call you Zachary?
No, let's stick to Zach.
Zach, okay, fine. Sweet, innocent, but yet so naive. Do you even know a thing about science? Like, how stupid are you?
What's going on?
Okay, the sun reflecting on the moon with the daytime cameras that they were using, because they were using daytime cameras, even though the technology back then was awful, they would not have shown shadows. This is the moon.
We're talking about stars.
We're talking about stars, shadows, same thing. There was shadows there. That's a conspiracy too. Stars, they're not going to show any of that.
Why? But it showed Earth.
But that doesn't mean anything.
It showed Earth, but then it was completely black around. Where are the stars?
I mean, to be fair, the moon is pretty bright, so all the light reflecting off of it would maybe cast like some kind of it wouldn't let the cameras pick up like any stars because
Exactly.
it is so bright.
Okay.
And the ship they were in was also had panels around it that deflected the light that would also stop shadows from happening.
All right, so the ship they were in, there's another point.
Okay,
So in
let's
some of the
hear this.
pictures, when it was sitting on the moon, there was no, like, the dust on the moon didn't move at all, like, when it landed. And there should have been a blast crater because of how fast it came into the moon. But there was no displacement at all in any of the photos.
How fast? Were they just going to crash into the moon?
Well, they don't just, like, float into it and, like, perfectly set on it. Like, that's what the
What dust do you
scientists
expect?
were
This
saying.
isn't Mars. You expect to see red
No,
stuff flying?
there is lunar dust on the moon.
Okay. And they brought back some of that dust.
Yeah, but
So they were clearly there.
I don't agree. I
No,
don't agree. There's too
I
many
think
facts.
The big thing here is that you're disrespecting the United States of America and their accomplishment in their race against the Soviets to get to the moon. They worked so hard. So many people work so hard, and yet you're just throwing it off. Anna, how can you even let this guy on your show?
All right, thanks guys. You both made a great argument. I guess we really won't ever know the truth. Now we'll bring you over to Alex and his report.
Every now and then, a new story comes around about some crazy conspiracy that does actually make you stop and think. Now, I'm a sports guy, and I think that the sports world has some of the most fascinating conspiracies out there. Like all the NBA draft conspiracies, or the one about Bobby Riggs purposely losing the battle of the sexes against Billie Jean King so he could pay off his debts to the mob, or more recently is the theory that LeBron James left the Cleveland Cavaliers to join the Miami Heat because his teammate Delonte West was having an affair with his mother. Now, just like with most conspiracies, I think anyone who believes in them are stupid, crazy, or both. But the other day, a YouTube video by Mike Korzemba caught my eye. The video was titled, "Was Michael Jordan's Retirement a Secret Suspension by David Stern, the NBA's Biggest Conspiracy?" And as soon as I read this title, I was like, oh no, what is this guy doing? You don't just go and attack the most loved NBA player of all time, the legend, the GOAT, the ghost that wore number 23 that LeBron James is still chasing, Michael Jeffrey Jordan. But I decided to hear him out, and he ended up making some compelling arguments. So I'm just going to lay out the facts, and I'll give you my opinion in the end. In 1993, fresh off winning 3 straight NBA titles, Michael Jordan announced his retirement from the NBA following the death of his father. Although Jordan was at the top of his game, he said he wasn't motivated to play basketball anymore, so he instead decided to chase his father's dream to go play baseball. Jordan went from being recognized as one of the best athletes in the world to a guy who probably couldn't even hit a beach ball if it was thrown to him. He went from the top of one sport to the bottom of another, all because he lacked motivation? And that's where the conspiracies come in. It's no secret today that Michael Jordan loves to gamble. But in the 90s, when Jordan was the poster boy for the NBA and loved by the media, no one would talk about it. In 1992, Jordan had to testify in the case of a cocaine dealer because they found a $57,000 check made out to the drug dealer in Michael Jordan's name. It was later revealed that this check was used to pay off a gambling debt. There's also another story that Michael Jordan's father was murdered because of Michael's gambling issue, but that's a whole other conspiracy in itself. But the NBA eventually had enough of their starlet being involved in all of this, including reports that he would be out at casinos until 2 a.m. the same day he would have a playoff game. So they began a formal investigation. Just when everyone thought the NBA would punish Jordan for his actions, he retired. and the investigation ended 3 days later with no consequences. Jordan would return to the NBA 2 years after his unsuccessful baseball career, and he would go on to win 3 more titles. So the theory here is that NBA Commissioner David Stern and Michael Jordan made an agreement behind closed doors that would make it seem like Jordan retired, when in fact he was actually being suspended by the NBA. In this scenario, Jordan would be able to maintain his perfect image and now billion-dollar brand, and the NBA wouldn't have to lose their money-making poster boy. And despite all the facts, I still think it's crazy. I think Jordan was just going through an emotional time after the loss of his father, so he needed a break. And to be honest, I think even if Jordan was a crazy gambler, the NBA still wouldn't suspend him because he was way too important to lose. So for this report on another crazy conspiracy, I'm going to have to say, once again, that I believe this is false.
Finally, I brought back a special guest, one that we heard from in the field interviews. It turns out he has quite a few things to say about conspiracy theories, and more specifically, the Illuminati. So we're here at the Ryerson's Allen Slate recording studio, and I've brought in my guest and friend, Yunus Shamsi.
Hi.
And he's a conspiracy theory enthusiast. So Yunus, can you tell me a little bit about how you got into conspiracy theories and what interests you?
For sure. I've always been into trying to find out who has higher control over what's going on in the world. And I guess it kind of goes back to when me and my brother used to watch like hours and hours of YouTube videos just talking about how certain events are connected to the Illuminati, like the 9/11, how they're supposed to be the reason behind it.
The Illuminati, can you go into a little bit more detail about who they are or what they do?
What I think they are is basically just kind of like a cover-up for this group of people who kind of have higher control of apparently everything. There's nothing that they don't have their foot in the door in if it doesn't come into like even politics, the government, the music industry, even media, stuff like that.
If the Illuminati was potentially real, what do you think their motive is?
No matter how much I've been an enthusiast of conspiracy theories, the fact of it is that I personally can't do anything about them. So even if it was 100% true, which I do believe as a conspiracy enthusiast, if the Illuminati has control over everything, my reality is going to be the same, either if I agree with that they have control or that they don't have control. The president's still going to make the same decisions, even if I think that it's him saying it or the Illuminati saying it.
Do you think that the Illuminati is just trying to take over the world and be in the highest power?
It's about it being a group of people who think they know best about everything and everyone to take all matters into their own hands. Like depopulation is another concept that people assume that the Illuminati takes control over because no one wants to do it, but the fact of it is that it might genuinely be a reality that we have to do, and they might be pulling stunts like 9/11, for example. That might be an example of something that they planned out themselves. Like the president of the United States isn't going to be the one to propose that. They just have to push that off to a conspiracy theory.
An interesting thought. The Illuminati is usually painted as an evil power that manipulates all the citizens, but do you think that they do have good intentions? Like you said, depopulation. We do know that the world has limited resources, so maybe they're a power that's almost fair to everyone on Earth, and they want to maintain stability. They want the world to continue on.
The fact of it is that there are some hard calls that need to be made. We do live in a world where democracy is like the number one power. So these questions should be answered in a democracy. But the fact of it is that as normal-minded, self-conscious, sympathizing humans, we are unable to make the decision to decide certain things, like if someone should die or live. I wouldn't thank them for existing or kind of taking care of the things that I wouldn't want to take care of, but I understand why they exist.
So thank you, Yunus, for coming in and sharing your thoughts.
Yeah, no problem.
No matter how much more information we may gain about conspiracy theories, the fact is we may never know what the truth is, and there's nothing that we can do to really control what's happening in our lives. Thanks for listening in. As we've heard from today, the world is really an unpredictable place, and things may not always be what they seem. It's both interesting and scary to think about the things that may be conspiring behind our backs. I'd also like to give a big thanks to Zach and Alex for their interesting thoughts and theories, as well as for the exciting argument. Ultimately, it's really up to you as the viewers to decide what the truth really is. Thanks for tuning in, and remember, always keep an open perspective.